Jupiter Broadcasting presents this program in stereo. This episode brought to you in part by Godaddy.com.
This week on the Linux Action Show, we unload a war chest of Linux games and discuss our favorites. Plus, we cover our best tricks to get your favorite Windows games to run under Linux. Then, we've got a Boxee box and give you our first impressions. And so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show. And welcome to Season 14, Episode 5 of the Linux Action Show. My name is Brian. That guy to my left.
Hey there, Brian.
His name is Chris.
My Boxee box runs Linux.
Yes, it does.
I'm so excited.
This is awesome. I want to get a Boxee box myself, so let me hold the box without the Boxee box
And then
in it.
I just got to say right off the top, it comes with this really awesome remote control. It's a really simple, 3-button remote, but then you flip it over, bam, QWERTY keyboard. So they've got a great remote design on this thing.
This is fantastic, and you know it's quality because one whole side of the box is orange.
Yeah.
One entire side. It's fantastic. That's just confidence. Any product that can do that. When was the last time you saw Apple put out a new MacBook Fuzzy Monkey or whatever they make, and one whole side of the box was just bright orange?
This thing's pretty intense.
Never, because they just don't have the confidence of D-Link and the Boxee guys.
My Boxee box runs Linux, and it's small. It's big. It's really small. It's as big as it's like the actual size of there's a picture on the box, but the other pictures on the box are actually larger than the thing actually is. It's
really
super small. Yeah, it's really a small device.
Yeah, so judging from the picture on the back it's got this little Ethernet port picture on it.
Yeah.
It's going to be about this size.
Yeah, it is about that. Yeah, and
so you could easily just palm it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And
that's awesome.
It's vertical, right? It's not like a flat box. It's got a big heatsink in there because it's running an Atom processor at something like 1.2 gigahertz or something like that. With the x86 Linux kernel on there and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
And so it's been. At first, I'll just say my first impression. This isn't going to be a full review. I'll probably do this later in the week, like on Jupiter at Night or something when I've had some more time with it. But my first impression was a little bit of a letdown.
No.
Yeah, well,
it's awesome looking.
Well, they changed the box itself is great. One single button on the actual box. It's got 2 USB ports, an SD card reader,
nice.
HDMI out, optical out, stereo out.
So awesome.
It runs silent, practically. The only problem was they changed the UI a little bit on this guy, and I just wasn't a big fan of it.
Over the stock Boxee?
Yeah, over the regular Boxee software, and I guess this is maybe like a new UI. It's a little more low-key. It's not quite as flashy.
Is it possible to put the old Boxee themes on it?
I don't know. Not yet.
It's got to be a way.
It's
just running Linux with Boxee on top.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to put new Boxee stuff.
And it's got one hell of a this thing can actually play a 60 megabit Blu-ray H.264 type stream.
Really?
I mean, serious horsepower in this little thing. And I guess I should just say that too. It's every format possible. It plays HOG files, it plays MKV files,
XVids, everything.
Yeah, everything. And then what Boxee is really good at is also tying in online services, and it does that really well. Flash plays out of the box on this, so and it comes with it has a really crazy app library.
Really?
Yeah, their app library has first of all, it has a lot of porn in it. If you turn that on, it's off by default. But you turn off one filter, and it's got some definite porn apps in there. But they also have a lot of movie apps and.
Good.
I'd say the biggest drawback to this is no Netflix yet. Netflix support's supposed to come in December, and it's supposed to have a whole new UI that no one's ever seen for Netflix before.
Really?
And the buzz is good, but as of right now. They have an app platform where every day I've gone in there and there's just more apps available.
Yep.
And it's just been nuts. I plugged this in the night I got it on Thursday, and there was 12, 15 apps in there. There's 127 apps in there now. It's pretty nuts.
So people are digging it, and people are getting behind it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's pretty good, and some of them are just really basic apps that are just links to Flash players and stuff, but they all work.
How much was it?
$200.
See, that's not bad.
It's not bad because it plays all of your media on your local LAN.
Yeah.
It can play media directly attached to it. It has a Samba server in there, so if you plug in like a USB hard drive, it immediately becomes a SAN on your network.
You know what would be killer?
Huh.
What would be absolutely killer is if someone made an app for this that was like a Super Nintendo emulator.
Oh, I know.
Or Genesis emulator.
Yeah.
Because you got the USB ports on the back, get those little
Oh, my
USB game
gosh.
pads, plug it into it, and use this as your like retro gaming set-top box plus video machine.
That would be cool.
Oh, it'd be epic.
But if you don't need live TV, or also I guess supposedly early next year Hulu Plus streaming's coming to it if you're in the US.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
But if you don't need live TV, I would go with. I think I would definitely say go with this over an Apple TV or a Google TV because while I think they could make your local media a little bit more of a priority, like I had to go to a menu and then a submenu to only see my local files.
Right.
Otherwise, it does like this overlay of online media and your media, like this in this big mesh meta library, which is kind of cool for just average Joe people. But if I know exactly what I want just my files, and this kind of buried them a little bit, but at the same time, it can play video like a mother, and the Apple TV's locked down. The Google TV's more focused on live TV integration and searching and stuff like that. So
and like
this is where it's at.
And like I use, like I have an
Runs
Xbox and a PlayStation 3 that I tend to use for a lot of my media playback, but both of them have some troubles with certain formats, and even in if I just rip everything as XVids or OGS or anything like that, some of them will play sometimes, but if the bit rate's a little off, the PlayStation goes all crazy. So I like the idea of having a Linux Boxee powered device,
and it has it's low
it.
power because it's essentially a high end netbook as far as like the graphics goes, and they have some specialized sound chips in there that let them. One of the things that's kind of unique.
That's pretty cool.
One of the things that's unique about the Boxee box is you can have a 1080p MKV with surround sound audio. But maybe you don't have a surround sound system and you just want to go out stereo. The Boxee box can send video out the HDMI, and then without losing sync, it can also send a corresponding sound out the stereo ports.
That's pretty cool.
A lot of set-top boxes can't do that because it requires an extra set of processing to match that up. Boxee box has got that. It's got a lot of value for $200.
That's a lot of value. Anyways, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's most awesome.
Hey, you know what else I got for you is a Android pick this week.
No, you don't.
I do, dude.
No.
You know what we like to do before the Android pick, Brian, is we like to give a shout out to the good folks over at GoDaddy.com.
That's right, because for the first time in human history, GoDaddy.com allows you to register domain names. And here's the kicker.
It's rather epic.
While you register those domain names, during the checkout process, you'll type Linux.
Yeah, you probably would.
You get to type Linux in caps.
That's like representing.
As if yesterday when you were going down to the Panera Bread place.
Sure.
You're like, I just want to get me an overpriced yuppie sandwich.
Yeah, yuppie sandwiches can be tasty.
I need that. So you went in there. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure you do.
Guy watching the stream. You go ahead and walk into Panera Bread. And you walk through the door, and suddenly you were overwhelmed by a need to yell the word Linux into the room.
Why wouldn't you?
This is the virtual equivalent of that awesome moment that you can now relive again and again.
Sir, I would say it's better because you can save money while you do it.
Correct, sir. 10% off of your entire order. GoDaddy.com.
Yep.
Linux 2.0, 20% off of hosting. Awesome.
Dude, this made my day. This epic listener, he must have been watching live actually. Last week we made a scarfparty.me joke during the GoDaddy spot.
We sure did.
And Matt here went over, must have been during the live stream, and actually registered scarfparty.me and set up a site with a tribute to the Linux Action Show to see how this amazing craze, the Scarf Party craze, started. I
You're
love
not
it.
even on his site right now.
That's his site. It's just not loading over here for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Loading for me, dandy.
Yeah, isn't that a great site though? He's got a scarf.
Scarfparty.me with a cool little picture of us going on there.
With our scarves on, and
Awesome.
he used GoDaddy.com. So there you go.
Fantastic. That right here is the power of the Linux Action Show.
I like that.
Never before had scarfparty.me existed. Now it does.
You're welcome, Internet.
And he's even got a picture of George Takei on there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, it's missing. But
Did you take it down?
well, George Takei joined the Scarf Party, and
Yeah, George Takei. He was wearing a scarf.
It's linked on our Facebook page if you wanna check it out. Go over to facebook.com/Jupiter Broadcasting, and he that's how I found out about it. He pasted a link to the George Takei.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just makes me happy.
All right, so check out my Android pick. I did something crazy this last week.
Yeah.
I got an Evo 4G Android phone.
Yeah, of course.
I like it quite a bit, but I load a ton of apps for the Linux Action Show on it.
Of course you do.
For every like one app I actually recommend, I probably try 5, you know? And so my phone was running crazy slow. I reloaded it. I didn't just reload it, actually. I rooted it, hacked it, put a custom ROM on there. But a major problem came up when I did that.
You crazy boy.
I know. You want to know what the major problem was?
What was the major problem?
The stock Android keyboard is awful. I've tried to love it for a long time, and it means to do well with its auto suggestions. They're not too bad, but sometimes it doesn't give them to you. Sometimes it does. It's ugly, and it also just does not have.
So no wait. So the
prediction.
Sprint Evo 4G that had a custom keyboard on it.
It had the HTC Sense keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Which was awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
You can't just throw that back on.
Well, yes, but I wanted to try to expand.
All right.
You know, I felt like this was something that. One of the problems with HTC
You're opening
Sense
up your
was
horizons.
I was kind of being limited.
Yeah.
So I asked on Twitter, and people came out in a big way and said, you got to check out SwiftKey. And I'd heard about it before, but I thought it was like a swipe thing where you draw on the keyboard.
That's what I thought it was.
And I'm not a big fan of the drawing. I tried it. It just doesn't work for me. And also, a lot of these keyboard apps don't have the mic button. And in Android 2.2, you got pretty good voice control everywhere. So you want to have that mic button. So I checked out SwiftKey. I loaded it up on my Evo, and I got to say, it is really something fantastic. First of all, it has a really great area for where it makes the auto suggestions. And when you tap them, it automatically does the correct punctuation or spacing or whatever it needs to happen.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, I never use the space bar anymore. It's just I don't need it because I just go up there and like if I want to, if like say you know the comma and the apostrophe share the same button, and I can just push it and it automatically knows which one it's supposed to use.
Really?
So I can really do quite a bit of fast typing. In fact, I found that I have Google Voice, you know, and I found that I was choosing to actually still text on this instead of Google Voice because it was easy and simple.
Huh.
But the other thing they do
does
is
look kinda cool.
those auto suggestions. Automatically figure out the type of verbiages that you like to use and start automatically suggesting different stuff like computer terms if you use a lot of computer terms. And the other thing it can do if you allow it, it asks you when you first install it, is it can scan your previous text message to see how you and your friends kind of talk. And then it'll automatically pre-build its recommendations based on how you already talk. So you go right into it. It already kind of knows like I spell because BECUZ and stuff like that. Or later is LAR.
That's because you're hip.
Yeah, I got the skills with
you
texting.
got some mad skills, man.
Yeah, and it already knows all that stuff. And I've also tried it without reading because I wiped my phone.
And so those recommendations really been working really well.
It's surprisingly so. And it's got the mic button so you can use the voice controls.
I'll be damned.
And it's comfortable to use. It's all around it's a really good keyboard. I really like it.
That is a fantastic Android pick of the day.
That's SwiftKey.
Now luckily, this will be exclusive to Linux Action Show for the next 7 hours. At which point one particular website. What website is that, Chris? What was it?
Oh, I don't want to be mean.
Is it Lifehacker?
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and post it as an Android pick.
You know what, though?
They won't call it Android pick of the day. They'll just call it an Android pick.
I can't be too mean on Lifehacker because I'm sure I've borrowed plenty of articles from them in the past.
I know.
They're a good site.
They're a good site.
I wouldn't mind a link back, though.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Guys at Lifehacker, the guy that writes those, I know you watch this show. I've been reading your posts. I read your Arch post with some wordage that we used in the Arch review episode.
Cool. We don't hold it. It's cool. I like Lifehacker.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say because you know what? I like Lifehacker.
And honestly, we could use some good linkage.
I would love that. Just a quick little link. You don't even have to say it. You just be like, at the end of your little post, also bozos over here.
Maybe in caps, bold.
Yeah, caps, bold, bozos. That's
Heading
totally
one.
fine. I will accept it.
All right, Brian.
You just hit me.
Let's do the news.
Okay. What's new? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Now, I was just giving Lifehacker a hard time for always copying the things that Chris does. So Chris does his Android picks. Now, this is true. If you watch the Linux Action Show, if you go through and watch our Android picks each week, about half the time, the very next day, it's a post on Lifehacker. However, this time
we had a little flip-flop.
Come over here, Chris. All right, so here's a website. Here's a website. What's this here?
Brian, I think that might be SwiftKey.
SwiftKey video and review.
I think that's over at Lifehacker.
Oh, what's up? That's at Lifehacker.
That's ridiculous.
This was from this last Monday.
That is too ridiculous.
So we just copied Lifehacker without knowing it.
And to be honest, now see, here's my Twitter feed where you can see this. I actually did get my SwiftKey suggestion from Twitter, but To be fair, Lifehacker also covers a couple of the other keyboards that I mentioned, the draw ones too. So that's a really good article. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
It sure is. It sure is a great article. We sure do love you guys over at Lifehacker.
We'll throw a link in the show notes linkage.
If you guys wanna, we just go ahead and link back to us from all your articles.
Yeah.
Be totally fine.
From all of them?
All right, hey Chris.
Yeah.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian, our top story on the news
That's my new casual way of saying it. Hey Chris, is there some news this week?
What's going on? What's going on?
Is there some news?
Yeah, we got some Linux Mint.
A little bit of news?
We got a little Linux Mint 10 release, Brian. In fact, we're both running Linux Mint right now. Linux Mint 10 is out, and I thought at first, actually, to be honest with you, I was kind of like, I'm not really going to cover this on the news docket. I'm not really.
Why would you say that?
Well,
why would you not cover Linux Mint?
Because I feel like we've been in this new distro pattern for a while. I didn't want to wear people out.
Oh, we've got a lot of new distros being released right now.
I know, man.
I mean, it's fall and spring. It's Linux
Tis the
time.
season.
Summer and winter, nothing happens.
Well, I stand corrected, to be honest with you, because we started Linux Action Show a little late. What we like to do before our big show is we like to reload our operating systems for funsies. So we've both loaded up Mint 10 here, and it actually, as we've been going through it, has been really fantastic. And now it's been through using it, it's been bumped all the way up to the top of the news docket. So,
it's great. I mean, it's how to say this. The theme is very nice.
It looks good. We always seem to like to start with a theme, but it's got almost like a faux brushed metal gray theme. But
honestly, it's like you took. I don't know. It's like you took like an old like Metacity theme, mixed it with the brushed metal of OS 10, and then applied a film noir style over the top of it. The whole thing is very dark. I mean, even the background.
It's easy on the eyes.
In Nautilus, it's just kind of like a dark gray. Mm-hmm. It's very easy on the eyes, but it's different.
Subdued.
It's not the usual Linux Mint look and feel. It's not that green that comes at you.
That's true.
Which I liked the green.
Now, one of the big things that I've just noticed already, and I don't have all the bullet points. I really just wanted to check this out today for our gaming show, and I thought it would be fun to run the games under Mint. But the menu system is neat.
It's not bad.
The new menu, one of the things that I noticed almost immediately is, first of all, I like the big bold visual icons. I think those are really good.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
They really pop. And then the other thing too, though, is when you search, like I typed in the search box Chrome, and I didn't have Chrome installed, and when it didn't find the application Chrome, what instead came up was a button to let me install the Chromium browser package, and then it goes out and apt-gets Chrome and installs Chrome right on the computer. The other thing it'll let you do is, if it doesn't find any local results, is it lets you search Wikipedia or Google or the dictionary.
Dictionary. Go to dictionary.com and see what Chromium is.
Right there in your menu.
That's really cool,
Kind of nice for the keyboard user, and I don't know, it worked. I clicked on install Chromium, and then within a minute I had Chrome. So that was pretty neat.
And it's freaking out right now, but it was working. There we go. Yeah, you just click on it, boom, it installs the package. That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Honestly, I dig that a lot.
Yeah.
I dig that a lot.
I think with the polish of things like that, and then also I noticed pretty slick integration, and this has always been a trouble spot for me, with Bluetooth. I have a Bluetooth mouse here.
Really?
And I booted up the live CD and went to start using my mouse. Oh, crap, this damn Bluetooth. Oh, I got to sit here and figure out how to get Bluetooth working. And then as I started sitting there huffing and puffing like a jerk, all of a sudden up on the screen comes up this thing, hey, detected a Bluetooth mouse. Want to enter your PIN and use that sucker? It's like,
yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much.
That was really nice polish. And I'm sure, and they're just using the Bluetooth packages available and stuff, but it's executed in a really nice way.
It's nice. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about this release in Mint because I haven't really been using it. Not that much anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running it here. I've putzed around with it, but we
literally just loaded it. This is
I haven't used it enough to review it all, but first glance, it looks cool. I dig most of what I dig. I'm not a huge fan of the control center.
I noticed flash out of the box. You don't like the control center, but I kind of like
that control center. No, I prefer the way Ubuntu does it myself. I know you're kind of on the opposite side of that.
Yeah, it kind of depends.
It's all right.
I don't like Ubuntu's system, and I don't like that they have a system menu and an administration menu or whatever it is. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But
to be fair, it doesn't make any sense.
They've got the other thing that Mint does, of course, is they offer a bunch of their own package manager stuff here, and I'm looking at their update manager. I really like Mint's update manager, and the other thing about Mint that I like is that little Mint package installer. I guess I'm going to play with all of this again.
I'm going to play with all of it.
I loaded it on my machine here, so this is for right now, this is going to be the de facto distro.
You know what I really like?
Huh.
Go and switch back over to my screen.
Spam.
That's F-Spot.
You do like F-Spot.
That's an Ubuntu-based distro that's now using Shotwell. That's F-Spot as the photo manager. I love me some F-Spot.
They came out this week, I think it was on their blog or somewhere like that, and they stated that they plan to stay with X11 for now. No plans to switch.
Interesting.
But, interestingly enough, also another item on the news docket, the Fedora folks have come out and said, you know what? I mean, let's not get crazy here, but eventually we're probably going to switch over to Wayland too. Yeah. I don't know, I guess some people were surprised by this, but they just laid it out here and they said, look, you look at the details of it, and really the main thing people are worried about is the network transparency, but there's no reason we can't build that into Wayland, and the fact that it's at this stage now really seems like we have the opportunity to do something like a frame buffer redirect or a built-in VNC server or something like that, and, we say a lot of things about Fedora on this show, but this kind of core infrastructure stuff, or he also mentioned integrating in with their Spice project, which I mentioned in the last episode, which is right now a virtual machine manager, but I could totally see it also being a way to do remote desktop stuff.
Now, I wanted to read this little email here from over on one of the Fedora projects list.
Yeah.
This is the Fedora development list, and this is from a gentleman named Adam Jackson, just because this gives kind of a nice insight into how some of these decisions are made and to how this generally works.
Totally.
So a gentleman went ahead and sent this in there, and he said, and I quote, "I think we'd like to see the Fedora community figure out its position on the subject," meaning Wayland, so that it can tell Wayland developers, if you continue on this track, then as things stand, Fedora will not be making it a part of the default Fedora install. Okay, fair enough. So then Adam Jackson replies, "Well, the Fedora graphics cabal is basically me, Kevin Martin, and Dave Arley. And since we were hanging out at Plumbers," I'm assuming that's like a bar or something, I don't know.
Awesome.
I have no idea.
Wait, hold on, let's reflect on that. Can we just picture for a minute that great Fedora decisions are made at a bar?
Named Plumbers. I have no idea if that's actually a bar, but I'd like to think it's a bar.
I'd like to think the Great Linux Action Show decisions are made at least under the influence of alcohol.
I'm pretty confident that most of them are.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that they're great decisions, but decisions are made.
True.
Some of them are even remembered. Okay, at Plumbers last week and talked about this. Here's the rough consensus I think we reached. Wayland's not a usable default yet. It'll probably be packaged in Fedora 15 as something you can play with. We don't even have a complete list of transition criteria yet, let alone a time frame for switching the default. But it's likely to happen eventually because it's a serious win for a lot of things, and the downsides are pretty negligible despite the fear from the peanut gallery. Feel free to quote me. Done. Quoted. I like
sir. That. I mean, yeah, that sounds informed. It sounds thought out, and honestly, I think I'm pretty in sync with it. And then the discussion goes on, and they address some of the remote networking issues, and they have some ideas around that. And really, all in all, I mean, I'm looking forward to digging into Wayland. I really am. And I guess right now for development, you can actually run Wayland as just an X11 client. And so you can actually run it in a windowed mode inside X for development and testing. So that seems really cool to me. I don't know.
Honestly, it seems a whole hell of a lot of cool to me.
Oh, the Linux Plumbers Conference.
So when he said Plumbers, he was referring to the Linux Plumbers Conference, not some random awesome bar named Plumbers. He just lost 2 awesome points.
I don't know. I mean, Linux Conference is good.
Linux Conference is good.
And I bet he went to a bar while he was there.
I'm going to assume when they had that discussion, it was at a bar.
Yeah, they probably left the conference, said, hey, we need to get lunch or maybe second breakfast. Let's go to the bar.
They went to a bar named, what's the bar name?
McGee's.
McGee's. They went down to McGee's. Boom. Decisions were made.
I like that. They talked about Wayland at McGee's.
Fantastic.
All right, Brian.
That's now officially news.
Oh, my goodness. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for everything.
The Free Software Foundation, the Latin American edition of the Free Software Foundation.
Wait a minute, the Latin American edition?
Yeah, they have like the Latin American division. You know, you have a bureau.
Yeah.
Because when you're a big, large bureaucratic conglomerate, you need like bureaus. Because
I don't think the Free Software Foundation actually qualifies as being large enough to. I think there's just like a couple people, dude.
Well, I mean, in the day and age of the internet, why would you need to have offices in these regional locations? I mean, the internet kind of removes borders. So if you're just not a huge bureaucracy, why would you have that? Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's not the story. That's not the story, Brian. Actually, what the story is the Free Software Foundation that came out and said the Linux kernel is Linus Torvalds' personal bait and switch maneuver.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Here's the idea.
What?
Here's kind of where they got all worked up.
What?
Now, Do you recall? Oh boy, it was a while ago. But do you recall that there's been some on and off hubbub around proprietary firmwares being bundled?
Yeah, binary blobs in the kernel.
Yeah, and you know things that in order for a piece of hardware to initialize properly, you have to upload this proprietary closed source blob.
Right, like the company that makes that particular driver is like, here, you guys can use it, but it's got to stay closed source, but you can freely distribute it, or something like that.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And this is where the Free Software Foundation, this is where their main kind of issue comes with, is because it's been one of those things that people have kind of been talking about on and off, and then they thought let's look at it from a technical standpoint and address this. And what they said is that starting in Linux 1.30, released in 1995. It was entirely free software. There were no binary blobs whatsoever. Well, that's to be expected. It was the first version.
It was early.
In 1996, version 2.0 contained 143 kilobytes of binary blobs. In a 4.7 megabyte entire compressed version of the kernel.
Sure.
That's all there was. 143 kilobytes of binary blobs. Later on, that grew to 1.3 megabytes in 2.419 in 2002.
God.
As of 2.633, Brian, it contains a grand total of about 2.5 megabytes of binary blobs.
Okay. So it grew a little.
This is really kind of a gray area as far as the GPL is concerned, because it's not necessarily hard linked to the kernel. You don't have to have these binary blobs for the kernel to boot the operating system.
It's totally not a gray area, by the way.
Well, this is the free software saying this.
The free software can suck a donkey. It's not gray.
What they're saying, though, is it invalidates the spirit of the GPL, because in some way you still are distributing software that has restrictions placed on it.
No, you're not. No, see, here's the thing, though. The whole point of the GPL, so if I take an app, let's say I make an app, right, that is reliant on or can use a closed source library.
Okay.
Right? But you can easily switch that library out, just as a user, copy it out, delete it, and throw something else in, throw an open source equivalent which exists in, and you're good to go. And therefore, you're totally able to keep using it. That is absolutely keeping in the spirit of the GPL and the license of the GPL. So they're just making stuff up now. That's not even GPL related.
I have two problems with this whole thing. First of all, is it's treated like a sort of a jab at Linus directly.
That's just kind of mean.
On their blog, you know, they say it's his personal way to sort of get that in there and spit in the face.
Why does he care?
He is a practical person. Linus has addressed this online in mailing lists before, and his approach is exactly. Now, this is my interpretation of his approach, because this is how I feel. As a practical person, you really can't buy, say, like a laptop without needing these binary blobs.
You really can't.
Even Richard Stallman has said that his machine, his little the little one laptop per child that he carries around,
needs
a binary blob for the wireless chipset.
Yeah.
Richard Stallman himself carries around a machine that, in order for the wireless chipset to work, has to have one of these things.
Yes.
Now
he's also said that he disables the wireless and only uses wired Ethernet, and he only connects up every so often.
That's what he says.
Yeah. That's stupid, though.
Setting that aside, though, what I think is interesting to address is the expectation that people could adopt and use this operating system if it didn't have the ability to operate with the hardware. It would completely stunt the growth of Linux. It would stop the growth. You wouldn't be able to load it.
It's stupid.
I wouldn't have been able to load Linux Mint on this iMac today.
No, not a chance. Plus, really, come on. If you don't want to use those drivers, don't. And you can remove them if you want.
To go back to Linux Mint for a second, what Linux Mint's doing that's kind of maybe addresses this issue is it detected that this iMac has a Broadcom wireless in it. These Broadcom chips need one of these blobs in order to fire up.
Yep.
And it is loaded into the firmware, or onto the firmware is loaded onto the chip at initialization time of boot up.
Right.
It doesn't just sit there. And I guess that's for like future updates or whatever. I guess there's some advantages. Plus, you don't have to have like long-term storage, so I guess it makes the manufacturing cheaper. So everybody's doing this now. So this isn't like something that's going to go away. But in Mint, it comes up and says, "Hey, I've got a driver for you. I've also got a firmware. They're two separate things you can get here." Mm-hmm. You can't really use one without the other, is my understanding. But it's nice that they still separate it out like that, I guess.
It's very cool.
So it seems like, in the general consensus online, is this is essentially just a bit of trolling again by the Free Software Foundation, where they drop another nuke.
The Latin America edition.
Yes, and not only that, And this shows you where the Free Software Foundation lives in our world, as in they don't live in the real world. They have created a fork, I guess you could call it, or a branch, an edition of the Linux kernel called, the Linux current version -Libre. So in this case, Linux -2.633-Libre.
Okay.
Now they go out and say in their blog right here where they're announcing this entire blog post starts out with a ribbing against Linus Torvalds about this.
About how he has some secret hidden agenda is a Trojan horse to trick us all into using binary blobs.
And then transition.
Because he's going to make so many billions of dollars if we use
and his evil
free
agenda.
Binary blobs.
And
like
then,
free to download ones. He's going to make millions.
What feels so disingenuous is it transitions into essentially a release announcement of their first kernel.
And what exactly, Chris, pray tell, does this kernel do? Like, what is
here
what
it is, Brian. The
it?
Linux Libre source is exactly this. They say it right here. Is they created a script, and this script goes through and deblobs the kernel, and then it produces up a tarball of the Linux kernel source without these binary blobs.
Okay.
So this is main kernel source. Rip out the blobs. Kernel source.
So really, it's a simple shell script that goes through and deletes the known binary
Super
blobs.
simple. Yeah, I'm sure.
So someone just created a list, goes through and RMs those suckers, and then tars it back up.
It's probably
that's the only thing. Now think about this for a second. The Linux kernel devs spent a whole bunch of time putting out a fully tested, maintained, and robust version of the kernel.
Absolutely.
Someone went through with a shell script that randomly deletes files.
Yeah.
Not totally randomly, but come on.
I mean, it doesn't. In Mr. Business CTO mind, all he heard is some dude wrote a script that ran against this kernel. You think I'm going to run that on my server?
There's no way.
No way,
dude. Seriously, I love freedom.
Oh,
I'm going to be straight here.
Amen, Brian.
Freedom's great. Mm-hmm. However, there's no way on God's green earth that I'm going to put this on a machine other than to see it fail.
Yep.
Like, that's the only reason I would install it somewhere is just to see it fail. Mm-hmm. Just because it would amuse me. That's it.
There you have it. That's a good one, right, Brian?
Stupidest thing I've ever heard.
All right, so the next story is
it ranks way up there.
Are you ready for this one?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Well, the Microsoft Kinect launched like 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of cool, because it has like the little infrared thing. It can like see it like has heat sensors.
Yeah.
And it has like those little dots it puts everywhere
you
to
saw
like
those
track
with the night
everything.
vision stuff? That's pretty crazy.
I mean, in terms of like motion control for video games, that's pretty pimp.
It's not bad.
That's a cool little device.
But I just love the internet. The internet is great because now there was a bounty that put out to get an open source driver, and there's already been one made. There's an open source driver out there for the Kinect. It's early days, but it actually already runs under Linux.
Yeah, it already works.
So they've got a working Linux Kinect driver. Now, of course, you still have to have all the software. This dude doesn't have the mic yet. I guess the audio chip has some pretty interesting crypto around it to verify that it's actually connected to a legit Xbox and a legit Kinect device. It's interesting that's where they put a lot of the copy protection, because I guess the video stuff wasn't too bad.
Huh.
It took this guy about 3 hours. So that's pretty good.
That's awesome.
So the other thing is there's a Google engineer who's now started another bounty, and I think the group of people that started the original bounty are going to start contributing like $2,000 to the EFF, so that way when Microsoft freaks the F out and starts suing everybody, they'll have an early like seed fund for a legal defense fund.
Really?
Because they fully expect it, but they're gonna fight for fair use of the hardware for this.
You know, the thing is, I don't expect Microsoft to come after anybody.
Well, here's the thing. Microsoft released a press statement saying that they're going to defend their intellectual property, and they've put significant protective measures in place to prevent hacking.
That I'm sure. But honestly, if this just encourages more people to buy that piece of hardware, Microsoft's going to be okay with that, is my guess.
Yeah.
Because they love money. It's the thing I've been hearing a lot. Like, sometimes I'll like read a thing, and it basically just says Microsoft loves money.
It's just it. It would just sell more Kinect devices. They open their mouth,
and only word that ever comes out is love money.
They would just sell more Kinects.
Yeah, so they're fine.
Yeah.
But I really don't think anyone's going to throw a fit about it. If they do, it's just bad press.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of Linux gaming, let's get into our gaming segment.
Let's get into our gaming segment. Do we have any more news?
I think that's all the news.
Awesome. So that's a good segue for talking about games. Chris, say a phrase.
I was waiting for you. All right, Brian. That's all the news for this week. Why, Brian, I believe it is time for us to talk about video games.
I could not find a reason in my heart to disagree with you about what we're going to talk about in this segment.
I like that, Brian. You know, we should do this every couple of years, or every couple times a year. I tell you, because we've done one at the beginning of this year for our anniversary.
That feels like a long time ago.
It does, but, you know, so it's been about half the year or so.
Yeah,
so
about
it's
half
time
a
for
year
another
ago.
one. I thought another gaming episode, right?
Yeah, there's so many games we got to talk about, so many different ways you can game on Linux. We got to talk about it every so often, even if there's no huge new game releases, just because
Well,
there's
a
so
ton.
much
There's
to talk
always
about.
more than you think there is. And,
There's
you
a
know,
lot.
Last time we talked a lot about first-person shooters. I'll be honest. We did. So this time we thought maybe we'd start out with a non-first-person shooter. So we're going to
That's
talk.
right. We did the whole thing where we let people call,
Yeah, they totally
dial in.
murdered
We
us,
all
dude.
get into the same. Oh, that was awful. That was brutal. We did not. Chris and I lasted 2 or 3
Oh, it was
seconds
awful.
at a time.
It was miserable.
It just showcases how pitiful we are.
So we thought
we are
maybe-
the most pitiful
Why
gamers
not go
ever.
a different route? Let's try something like a real-time strategy. So we're going to talk a little bit about Zero AD.
Which, come on, has a lot of hype around it right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it looks glorious.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely awesome. It does. You were mentioning it before. It looks kind of like
Organic.
Yeah.
It looks real. It's, you know, a little chaotic, a little scattered, but
And it's got that look and feel of like the old Age of Empires.
like that. I got to be honest with you. I was kind of a fan of the old Age of Empires.
And it looks just generally pretty cool. What I like most about it, the look is not very grid-like. Yeah, you're great. Organic is a good word for it. Because
Yeah.
like the buildings are all kind of skewed at a funky angle.
exactly.
The characters are standing around like looking like at a funky angle sometimes.
Yep.
And I like that. It makes it feel more real.
I agree, sir.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to trying this. I just loaded it. What's great is they basically have packages for like every distro, and they've got a PPA here. And you know this.
And you can grab it for Windows and Mac, I think, too.
So you could
Yeah.
just check it out. Now we're not going to play that one live today.
Nope.
But that's one that's on my list. I've already got it installed to try.
It's still in alpha. It's an alpha pre-release preview of alpha. It's got a long ways to go, but it's looking really cool.
Now, I don't know if this one's actually open source, but it's free and it works on Linux. It's called Savage 2, and this has got to be one that we heard the most about from the live chat room.
Yeah, hop on over here. I got a video up and playing of this bad boy right now.
It's like they tell me it's a combination of real-time strategy and first-person shooter. And so I'm downloading it. Oh wow! I've got 6 seconds left on my download, so I think I'm going to fire this one up on the live stream today and play this one with the chat room.
and it looks really cool.
Dude, it looks great.
You know, so one of the general things about Savage 2 is that it's a team-based real-time strategy third-person shooter is basically what it is.
Yeah.
So you have a character. Your character plays a role within the team. You can have a team commander, and you guys are going to accomplish goals.
And what's interesting is so you're defending a base. The team commander, however, whoever plays as the team commander, gets like an overview tactical of like the other opponents and things like that. And so he gets more of a 40,000 foot view, kind of from the clouds view of the situation, and he can be more of an orchestrator and a coordinator of the people on the ground's efforts. Love that.
Honestly,
that sounds super fun.
Honestly, pretty cool. The gameplay is fun. It looks cool. It's got decent graphics. It's just generally a pretty cool way to go. I dig the team-based gameplay.
Yeah, and I like the
general.
commander aspect of it too. The visuals, I'd say it's like World of Warcraft, way better looking and not cartoony. You know, but it's that natural grassy environment with bushes and trees and that sort of slight fantasy look to it with people that soldiers and
It
monsters
does
and
have
stuff,
a little bit of a standard fantasy MMO look and feel.
God, it looks great though.
Yeah, it looks
and free to
great.
play.
What we really should do?
Yeah?
We should have me have one team, you have another team.
Oh, dude.
And we should just go against each other.
And take the chat room. People join up and we just go. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We should do
Team
that.
Brian versus Team Chris. Dude, we would
Oh my
trounce you.
goodness.
I don't even know who's on my team, and we would destroy you.
Now, this next game, before we get into the first-person shooter section, I wanted to talk about a game that has been featured a lot on the Linux Action Show, and it's sort of taken a turn. Now, we've talked a lot about NextUIz.
Yeah.
And NextUIz, I actually have a flyer here that we picked up at PAX, and NextUIz went commercial.
Yeah.
They sold their rights to a company that's making a PlayStation 3 game, and the developer that did it, basically it was inferred that he didn't have a lot of active participation anymore in the project, but he owned the IP, he sold it, it's closed source now, they have no intention of contributing the code back. So these guys the people that were really working on the project split,
Yeah.
and they started a new game. It's not actually available for download yet, but it's Zontic, or how do you think you pronounce that?
Xonotic.
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 It really looks like everything we love about NextUIS just amped up a little more.
It is amped up with a super, almost Tron-like feel.
Very Tron-like, I would say, yeah.
And I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
And there are a couple of packages out there. They're not officially releasing them for download directly, but you can get the source. And
you
a few
can
people
get them and toy around with it already, yeah.
So Zontic or Xonotic.
Xonotic,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
We'll put a link in the show notes, but it's kind of an interesting progression of a story. I mean, NextUIS, I think we've covered it every time we've done a gaming segment. Because we just liked it. It's
It's
great.
a good game.
It's like my go-to first-person shooter that I just want to have some fun with. And native Linux version. I'm always inclined to go that way. Kind of sad to hear it because that kind of stuff sucks when they go commercial like that and then they close it all up.
Kind of does, yeah. I don't know. Like I guess was it NextUIS is going to be available on like Xbox 360 and things like that pretty soon. So it's I don't know. Like I don't begrudge
it's
anyone's
gonna be like
success.
one of those. It's going to be one of those
I hope
market
it goes
games.
well, but
like one of the arcade games or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, Whittlelands, Brian. This is
Widelands.
This is Widelands. This isn't a first-person shooter, but
Did you say Whittlelands?
well, because I looked over at the title and it looked like Whittlelands, but
Whittlelands.
there's some elements in there and it's in the wrong spot.
Good job, dude.
I've never played this one. Have you played this one?
Yeah.
And what do you think?
It's okay.
It's a real-time strategy game. It's an overhead experience.
Yeah.
It looks like, boy. I mean, after looking at Zero AD, I just don't. The difference is pretty huge in graphics quality.
Oh
It
yeah,
looks fun though.
Oh yeah, no, it's very very different.
It would probably
graphically.
play on like an Intel graphics card.
Oh, dude, yeah, it plays just fine on my netbook.
Yeah?
No problems whatsoever. And it is. I mean, graphically, come on, it's old looking, and honestly,
And it's a clone of the Settler series.
kinda.
Oh, chat room.
Kinda. It's so I love the Settlers.
Yeah.
Settlers is a great game. This plays a little bit different than Settlers, but this is a good game still, and there's obvious inspiration from Settlers.
Okay.
If you like Settlers, you'll probably enjoy this at least a little bit.
Settlers 2 is what they're saying. It's a like a clone of Settlers 2.
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah. It's close enough. I mean, it's the closest thing you're going to get outside of running Settlers 2 under Wine, which we can
Gotcha.
talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's cool. It's there. Honestly,
What's your main objective with it? Are you just building and I mean, it looks like it's.
You
looks
have a
like
settlement.
Supply
It's
Depot.
like a colony.
Oh, it is? Yeah, okay, that looks
so you
good.
come there, you build up. You get everything going. You build your settlement.
You're establishing like a little country there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these people have in these screenshots. They've built stores and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
It's that's what it is. Yeah, so it's very good. Graphically, it's not quite up to par.
But there is a multiplayer mode and a campaign mode. That seems pretty
and
good.
it plays well. Honestly, it's worth trying if you like a good strategy game.
Majo calls it's a God game where you can kind of take the role of God in some ways.
Yeah, kind of like
like
a
that.
God game. Yeah, it's worth playing. But Widelands is worth checking out.
Widelands.
I feel like they need some help on the art side. But otherwise, the game is good. The gameplay is fun.
Before we move in, one more game before we jump to a first-person shooter. I haven't tried this yet, but it's called Beyond the Red Line, and it's a Battlestar Galactica-inspired game. Here it is, and it's still in testing, and it's going to be in several parts. But it looks crazy. It's using the FreeSpace engine.
Yeah.
If you've ever played that game,
I love
FreeSpace.
FreeSpace.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Which was graphically extremely advanced for its time, so it still looks really good in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it does.
And now they say they don't have any affiliation or any resemblance with the BSG TV series.
Right, which is
But-
good
Yeah,
because
we weren't big fans of that
No.
at the end, and
I like the original.
Yeah.
The original was cooler because it was campier.
but it really kind of looks like it's a great fly around in space. And so this is sort of going down that first-person route, so I thought this would be a good transition one.
Yeah.
Waiting to see more from this. Hoping to see this turn out well. I'm really hoping. Their website's down right now during the show. I don't know. So we weren't able to get a lot of information from it, but it was one that was pointed out to me in the Jupiter Colony. I went and checked it out, and I'm excited. Vendetta Online's another popular one.
Tons and tons of excitement there. So bring this up here. So the great thing, so since we're talking about kind of space online and flying around in space, you can't do that without mentioning Vendetta Online.
I saw a few mentions for Vendetta in the Colony,
Now,
too.
Vendetta Online is one of my favorite games. The thing is, I don't play it because I don't know anyone who actually plays it anymore.
Oh, really?
The graphics are great in that they are obviously dated, but
they look
such
good to
high
me.
quality.
Yeah.
Like the polygon count's kind of low. If you look at the ships, you can say, well, obviously
Oh, yeah,
there's
like
the
that
ship
moon's all
line
stretched and stuff.
Exactly, but The atmosphere is great. If it plays well.
So it's an MMO?
It's an MMO that is, you've played Trade Wars. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just like you can in my BBS over at Lunduk.com.
I was going to say, that's also another way to game.
So we'll talk about that in a minute. So it's kind of, imagine that, except, and you played EVE Online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Lightly. Not a lot.
So imagine being able to fly around in space.
I love that.
Only instead of point and click saying, okay, I want my ship to go to this asteroid and then fire at this thing and you click on it,
right.
You actually can use joysticks.
Ooh.
I actually have a little flight control thing with a throttle.
I love that.
So it's real-time arcade, like flight simulator in space, plus combat, plus trading, plus quests, that sort of thing.
And is it big? Is it a big world?
It's a huge universe, and it's great. And of course, it's native for
How do you
Linux.
travel like between systems and stuff? So they have it looks like a warp map.
Yeah, you
or
got
something.
a little map you can fly around on, a little warp gate type thing, and it's great. It's so much fun, and the guys have been around for years now. The guys that have been making this game have been around for a long, long time.
Is it free to download, or how does it work exactly?
It's just like any other MMO. It's free to download. And then you pay for a monthly
you
thing.
get
There's like a 14-day free trial.
So they have multiple view angles outside your ship, or you can go in like a heads-up display type view.
Yeah, I always fly in the heads-up display.
Yeah, dude.
It's more
immersive.
It's fantastic.
Runs under Linux?
It's fully native under Linux.
Nice.
And the developers are even working on an Android port. So like the more powerful Android phones and tablets, you can just hop in on the go, hop into your ship, fly around, do some mining, do some trading. Great game. I can't recommend this one enough.
$5 a month if you subscribe.
Of course, you have to like flying around in space. You have to like flight sims, and you have to like massively multiplayer role-playing games. But if you do, this is your thing.
To be honest with you, if they ever make that available for Android, you can guarantee that's going to be an Android pick. I'll definitely check that out.
Holy Lord. Yeah. Honestly, they make that available for an Android phone, and it runs really well. I'll probably buy that phone. Just so I can run it. Yeah. Or a tablet, just so I can run that on the go. Because it really is a great game. Now, the really cool thing.
All right.
So you can get a joystick. So I have like a flight control stick and a throttle to control it. However, in space, having the throttle doesn't always make sense. So what some people do is they get 2 flight control sticks and they control it that way. So like those cool maneuvers you see in BSG where they do the flips in space and they tumble. Much easier to do if you have 2 joysticks. I can see that.
So you're using one for your up down and one for your side to side.
Kinda. It's difficult to explain, but I highly recommend it if you get a chance to.
It's complete
360 with no gravity. It's so cool. So cool. So they did a great job on that. That's one I just wanted to
Vendetta Online.
Vendetta Online.
Throw a link to that in the show notes.
Vendetta-online.com.
Now, this is the game that I think will probably get the most live stream play, just because it looks super fun. And I really, really, really want to play it. Huge fan of the old school Wolfenstein. And now there is Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, which isn't a super new game, but it's free now.
Well, it's been free for a long time.
Oh, it has?
Yeah, years.
Is this the actual, or is this like some sort of re-release?
No, this is the full game.
Oh,
Wolfenstein Enemy Territory.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean,
it's set in World War II.
Heck yeah, it's set in World War II. It's Wolfenstein.
It's always great. Always makes for great gameplay.
Yeah, so it's a great multiplayer game. It's it's Axis versus Allies, first-person shooter, tactical kind of game. It's a lot of fun, and people have been playing this for a long time. If you haven't,
so they released it now based on the Quake 3 engine. Yeah. So it's like all of the original IP stuff and all the assets just on top of the open source Quake 3 engine.
Right.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
And so you played this when it originally came out back in the Dizzle.
Yeah. Great game. Great game.
This looks like a fun one, so I've got this downloading as well. I think I'll be doing this one.
Honestly, of all the various first-person shooters that are out there right now, for Linux, this is my favorite.
Really?
The graphics are better on some of the other games, and there are other good, more tactically, nitty-gritty war kind of games available for Linux as well.
The graphics do look dated.
They look dated, but I love the game so much. It's such a good game. The maps are good. The gameplay is good. It's fantastic.
If you played like the original Medal of Honor, what was the Medal of Honor?
Allied Assault.
Yeah,
we played that one a lot.
Yeah, the graphics are about on par with that.
Yeah, it's about the right time frame too.
What I love about this is I've already got like most of these downloaded. I cannot wait to play some of these. I know. It's gonna be. The Linux Action Show might be coming out a little late this week. That's all I'm saying.
Enemy Territory is awesome. We really need to get like a Linux Action Show game server going where
we've got a Minecraft server that's rocking.
So we've got a Minecraft server that's going. We just need like one or two other games. We need like one good like spacey game and one good like strategy game and one first-person shooter, and just call those the Linux Action Show games.
I like that. That would be cool.
We should do that sometime.
Now this other game, I'm gonna shift gears on you, Brian. Here, I'm gonna switch from first-person shooters. You ready for this?
Okay, ready.
All right. This one made the list on Jupiter Colony, and I think it was also recommended by a fellow Linux gaming podcaster. So I'll put a link to his podcast. He joined the colony and said, "Hey guys, I run a German Linux gaming site." And I had another Linux gamer podcast that jumped in the thread too and said he's a Linux gamer, and then we have a voicemail coming up later in the show from another Linux gaming podcast guy. But a lot of people recommended Osmos. And Brian, you said that you've played Osmos yourself. In fact, you own it, right?
I bought it.
It's a pay game, but it's 100% DRM free. It doesn't have any copy protection on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so you don't junk up your system.
Exactly. It's fantastic. And it's a really cute game. It's
very different.
It's all about the ambient environment and the music, really. That's what the game is. It's like the slow-paced.
This seems like it could be an Android game too.
It really could. Honestly, I only played it for like a few minutes because I got bored.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
You like cell and you consume other cells and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I really didn't get into it. But then again, I also really didn't get into Spore. The first level of Spore where you like are a cell and you're going between the levels of the cell. Never really got into that. What was that one game where you were like a creature in the water and you were going around? It was like big on the PlayStation 3 for a while.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but I didn't really get into that one either. For some reason, these microscopic underwater type games, I just don't care that much.
Now,
Flow, that was the name of that game. Yeah, it was a cool game. A lot of people really liked it. Had a cool ambience to it, but like Osmos or Osmos, because it should be short for osmosis. I just really didn't. It didn't grab me. It was cool and neat, but didn't grab me.
One of the things that's kind of cool about it is it has a procedural world generator where you can just pick any. You can pick a random version of any level, and that seems kind of neat.
Super neat.
If you're watching the video version, the Linux Mint install right now, the software we use to capture the visuals is a little choppy. So if that gameplay looks a little choppy to you, it's not the game. It's the software we use to capture the screen.
Not the game, guys.
I promise. Now, so I thought that just seems like the most chill game we could probably feature if you just want to relax, you don't want to shoot people in the face, or you don't want to take over a world.
Wait. What do you mean?
Well, Osmos. If you don't want to, So
if you don't want to what? Shoot people in the face?
Yeah.
Why would people not want to shoot people in the face?
Maybe they want to play on the Brian Lunduke BBS, Brian.
All right, so here's the thing.
Just zoom in or something. I don't know.
Zoom in there. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
There you go.
Zooming in.
Trade Wars.
So there's the thing. So there's a lot of great games available, and there's a lot of different ways to enjoy those games. So I wanted to cover a number of different possibilities for a minute.
Yeah.
So one of them is you can go a little retro. If you're on Linux and you're like, I'm running out of games, go retro. And you don't have to do this over on my little BBS, but there's lots of great MUDs out there.
The Triple E powered BBS.
Yeah, it's still running great. I should post a picture of that up because it's just a little Triple E 900 sitting there. It's like on the edge of my desk behind me with a little status window up. I even made the screensaver the little logo, so it's just black with a little House of Lunduke BBS thing.
Awesome.
Anyway, but there's great games that are available. Granted, the graphics are not all that hot, but there's lots of good MUDs out there. There's lots of good BBS games like Trade Wars and Lord and everything else. So if you want to dip your fingers.
Why not? I like dipping my fingers and stuff.
I'm gonna say dip your toes. I'm gonna retract the dipping of the fingers.
See, when you say dip your toes, I think of like dipping my toes in a pool. Yes. But when you say dip your fingers, I immediately think of cake frosting.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of cheese dip.
Both are good, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking of dipping my fingers in cheese dip.
Either way, you're not generating a bad visual.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Dip whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you can give it a try over at lunduke.com. There's a little flash terminal, and you can just telnet into it. And there's a lot of great MUDs out there also. But there's a lot of other cool games too. I'm going to make a call out really quickly to FreeCiv, which is a free implementation of Civilization. We've mentioned it before, but the game has continued to improve over the years,
and it continues to get mentions. The Jupiter Colony gaming thread, again, another mention to that.
It's a good game.
There's a lot of games we're not even covered, but that one was brought up a few times.
So you can check it out. Honestly, it's in the repos. for every major distro. However, go and grab the latest and greatest from freeciv.net.
Oh, okay.
Because that's got the best graphics, the best fixes and everything.
Oh, okay.
Grab it there. The same is true for Free Call, which is a free implementation of colonization, which is another great Sid Meier game from back in the day.
Gotcha.
So all that said, I want to move on to a couple other options here.
Lay it on me, Brian.
ScummVM.
All right.
Now, ScummVM is fantastical.
I
Look
know
at that.
you're a
Look
big
at
fan
that.
of
Look at that
ScummVM.
little Mickey's quest there. Oh, look at this. What do we got here? More Mickey Space.
Yeah,
Okay, these are all Mickey Space Adventure screenshots.
Okay, demo fail.
All right. Let's go over the other screenshots here. But wow, random screenshot. It's more Mickey screenshot.
Well, ScummVM is exactly what the name sounds like, though. It's
the script creation utility for Maniac Mansion Virtual Machine. Basically meaning that it plays all the old LucasArts games, assuming you can get them, which GOG.com.
Oh, good old games. You're a fan of good old games,
Now,
and so am I.
here's where you can start to have a whole lot of fun. Let's say you want to play the Space Quest series over on your Linux box. Well, now, obviously, Space Quest 4, 5, and 6 were not released for Linux. They were released for DOS or earlier versions of Windows.
Right.
However, all of them, up through Space Quest 6, are supported by ScummVM. What you can do, go to GOG.com. Buy Space Quest there.
$10.
They $10 for a 3-pack. So basically, so it's you get 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, or 1, 2, and 3 for $10 collected. So the whole six episodes, 6 games would be $20. Then go over to ScummVM because the games themselves are not crippled with a bunch of funky DRM wrappers. You can then take those files, play them natively in ScummVM on your Linux machine. Plays
and you ever wondered why you give an S if your game has DRM? It's because down the road in the future you might want to fire one of them up.
You might want to fire them up and send an emulator like this. So that's cool. They've also added in the ScummVM release that just came out this last month, Sky support, which is the old Sierra Online games.
Oh, no kidding.
Which means you can now play
like King's Quest and all kinds of stuff.
Many games. There's a games compatibility list over at ScummVM.org.
And they got color keys.
It is epic. I mean, everything, all the King's Quest
Leisure
games,
Suit Larry,
Quest for Glory, Space Quest, Leisure Suit Larry,
King's Quest.
They're all in there, and it's fantastic.
Space Quest.
And of course, you can grab Monkey Island and all the other games. It's great.
That just and because ScummVM runs under Linux, that just opens up a huge new category of games.
Huge. So basically, all of the best adventure games are over there. So that's cool. Now, it's not native, it's not new game development, but it's still really cool. Okay. So that brings me to the other side of things.
Yeah, buddy.
So now, assuming you've exhausted all of the cool strategy games available, you've played Wolfenstein Enemy Territory and Next spin-offs and everything else until your brain explodes.
Probably.
You need some new games. You want to play new games, well, you got to play them under Wine because, well, hey, it's a Windows gaming world.
That's true, Brian.
However, astoundingly, Wine is getting better and better at playing games.
So good. Just as a quick sidebar, this shot with the chat room right here is actually using Wine to run the software to do the live network screen capture.
Yeah.
I mean, Wine is getting amazing.
Wine is getting astounding. So I just wanted to point this out. If you have ever wondered if an app runs well under Wine, go to appdb.winehq.org.
Yeah, it's their compatibility list.
That's their compatibility list, and it is astoundingly complete. But look at the top 10 platinum list.
This is their best of the best.
If these apps are rated platinum, that means they run like gangbusters.
And there's generally almost no
nothing you have to do. You just run it. Yeah. You just install it and run it.
Yep.
Team Fortress 2, the full version of Left 4 Dead, which you can get from Steam, which Steam itself runs great under Wine.
That was what blew me away. Steam actually works under Wine.
Steam runs great. Not all of the games in Steam run great. Check the list here over at
But doesn't it seem like if it's a game that uses the source engine, like Left 4 Dead,
maybe
generally,
yeah.
Look, I'm looking at this list. It seems like more of the ones.
Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead runs great.
Yep.
Sims 3 runs great. Warcraft 3, Call of Duty 4. I mean, these are games that run fantastic. World of Warcraft runs well. I mean, so much.
And I know there's people that have Star Trek Online working under Wine.
Fantastic.
I've not actually gotten Star Trek Online to work under Wine under Linux. I got it to work under OS 10.
See, I've played Star Trek Online under Wine.
My issue is it doesn't seem to get a network connection. The game runs, but I don't seem to get any internet connection.
You forgot to turn on your network card.
Oh, interesting.
Chris, I don't know about that. But Fallout 3, EVE Online, I mean, come on.
Yeah, you got to check out.
These are games. Yeah. So what I'm saying is don't feel left out. Don't just because you're a gamer does not mean that you even have to dual boot. Most of these games work great.
Yeah,
under Wine.
a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to switch to Linux. I'm worried about the gaming aspect of it."
You don't have to worry. You don't even have to change the games you play. 90% of the cool games out there run great under Wine. Now there are going to be 10% that just don't run at all.
Or sometimes they take a little bit, like the really early titles.
Or you have to kind of futz with a little bit, but head on over to appdb.winehq.org.
Yep.
That's the place where fresh is the taste.
Oh,
in terms
just
of
a wine trick
gaming.
too. If you're going to be setting up Wine and playing some of these games, and you need like fonts, maybe your fonts look a little funky, or maybe using the wrong sound device. See if your distro in its repo has an app called Wine Tricks, and that'll download things like some of the ActiveX components you need sometimes, some of the MS fonts. That kind of helps iron out some of the rough spots with Wine sometimes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, there used to be an app. Is it around yet again? Called Wine Doors?
I think it's down again.
It's down again. It's been up again and down again. That was really cool because it linked to all the VB runtimes and Visual C runtimes.
Of course, there's always crossover, which gives you a wizard that'll go out. And one of the nice things that crossover does, but you have to pay for it. But one of the nice things it'll do is it does bottles, which are like almost, if you're familiar with BSD jails, only for Wine in a sense. It's a completely isolated Wine environment, so you can load some funky version of IE with some funky this, some funky that, and you don't have to worry about monkeying up your other Wine setups just to be able to run this one app. So that's a nice advantage that Crossover has, and then they'll also combine that in with a lot of preset wizards where you could maybe auto-download like Internet Explorer and Flash and QuickTime 7 all in one container. So that's Crossover. It's not bad. Oh, PlayOn. Yep. Now, I've tried PlayOn. Didn't work really all that well for me. I had problems downloading packages and stuff.
People have been talking about it, so I thought I'd throw this out there. PlayOnLinux.com. Haven't used it yet. Can't review it because haven't used it. Don't know.
But the chat room's giving it a recommendation.
They're giving it a recommendation. To be honest, I've been so happy with stock Wine with just a couple of tweaks here and there for a few games that I have a hard time, saying we'll go with something else. I used to have, on my main machine, a little dual boot setup for games. I don't anymore because all the games I play are either native on Wine or, well, let's be honest, I play a lot of those adventure games, so I use ScummVM a lot. Or honestly, I use Wine, and it's fine.
I'm wondering if people out there have StarCraft 2 working under Wine or Star Trek Online. If you do, hook me up with the 411 on that, if you would. I'd like to know. I'd like to try either one of those games under Linux. All right, Brian. I think that's our look at Linux gaming.
No. Hold on. Here, I'm just showing you the beauty of the Wine HQDB.
Yeah.
StarCraft 2.
Yeah, and it's gold. But I want to hear from people that are actually doing it.
From Ubuntu 10.10.
I know.
Tested on
November 5th.
Oh, it's up and down. Gold, bronze.
Yep. See, that's the thing.
There's still some things.
And they've done some updates recently that I don't know. I'm worried that they might not work.
There's text issues. All right, so StarCraft 2. Not top notch.
So I want to hear what people's thinks.
Yeah,
what people's thinks.
Have they managed to?
Do they have the experiences with it? Because I'd like to find out.
Yeah, Star Trek Online. I've worked pretty. It's done.
I gotta
get
that going. I haven't really tried a lot, but I got to.
StarCraft 2. I have never even tried under Wine. So
okay,
I don't know.
Brian.
I don't know.
I think that's our look at Linux gaming.
It has been a very long time since we have taken listener questions and voicemails.
I had to dust off the Linux Action Show bat phone, Brian.
Holy moly.
I know it.
I think we just forgot that we could do that.
It's the phone. It's not, I got to be honest, it's not my instinctual inclination. But there's a lot of people out there that want to communicate.
It's not your instinctual inclination.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
So people like talk about the video games, though. So we got a few call-ins, so I thought maybe we'd play a couple of voicemails. This first call-in is from Brent. He's going to share his
What is up, guys? Hey, quick question. PC gamer, love rocking my Ubuntu as well, but I have a hard time getting all the games I want to work under Wine. So I've installed some virtual machines, but can't get games running very well in VirtualBox or anything like that.
Yep.
Could you run games in a virtual machine? Kind of a nude question, but I thought you might be able to help me out. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, no, it totally. Here's a couple of tips and tricks for you. If you're running games in a virtual machine, as painful as it is to say, run Windows XP.
I know, right? That does help.
Just as a first start off, a lot of the drivers for VMware and VirtualBox for the 3D acceleration are optimized for Windows XP.
Totally.
You're going to get the most performance out of it. You can most bang for your buck. Also, don't forget to give that video driver a crap ton of memory in your virtual machine settings. That's going to help a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then also I found that it runs better if you don't have like compiz turned on inside the virtual machine. And also depends on the virtualization platform. Watch VMware and VirtualBox, depending on, we got to remember some people watch the show like a year after it comes out. So right now, it could be that VirtualBox has the lead as far as 3D acceleration goes, but it's neck and neck.
Here's what I've generally found. If you're playing a direct 3D game, use VMware. If you're playing an OpenGL game, use VirtualBox.
Totally.
It's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other sort of a deal, but that's generally what I've found. Now, that's pretty hit and miss, trial and error. I keep around 2 gaming VMs that are just XP, one in VirtualBox, one in VMware, just for the rare game that I can't get running under Wine, which is pretty rare. I mean, we just in the last segment talked about how it looks like StarCraft 2 not playing great. You've had problems with Star Trek Online, but just the same, most good games do play pretty well under Wine.
Yeah.
So that covers you for the most part.
All right, let's see what we got. The next call in here, I didn't get the name, but maybe he'll give us an announcement.
He's nameless.
Hey, Brian, it's Michael Huff.
Michael.
Brian and Chris, good day to you guys. I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that I really, really appreciate your show.
Thank you, sir.
Me too.
The Linux Action Show has come to mean a whole lot to me. I watch it every week now. And it is the that has...
Okay.
I mean,
So I thought we could just fill in the blanks here.
Is that really part of it?
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, it goes on for another 2 minutes, but I thought we could just... I was going to think he really likes the Linux Action Show because of our scarves. All right? Let's continue.
That's got to be what it is. But thank you, man.
And right there, he's talking about...
Until
he took a shower?
you guys came along. And now...
He didn't take a shower until we came along.
Ubuntu. I know, the easy one. But,
it's okay.
I'm far more immersed in it now than I used to be. Just recently got my master's degree in information systems.
Nice.
Going for my A+ here in a few days. Now I'm actually thinking about doing a Linux Plus certification after that. So
cool.
You guys are doing just a brilliant job.
Thanks, sir.
It's really entertaining, really funny, and very, very informative. It's really
look at us go.
A lot of.
Now I thought
I didn't realize how great we were.
That's about gaming. That's not about. He doesn't get into gaming for another minute, so I think we'll go ahead and move forward on to the next one.
Okay.
I apologize. I thought he got into gaming a little faster.
Thanks, man.
You ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
All right, I'll play it for you, Brian.
Hey, this is Kevin in California, and I just wanted to let you guys know that since you're going to do a gaming episode
We are.
soon, there's a project called the Dark Mod, which is a modification for Doom 3, and it basically turns it into a completely different game. It's a stealth game, kind of influenced by an old game from the 90s called Thief.
Good game.
Where basically the goal is to break into places and steal things instead of going around shooting everybody. And this is community developed, and there's already like 33 missions for it. It's at www.thedarkmod.com, and it's completely cross-platform, native Windows and Linux. So check it out. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah,
Nice.
It looked good. So of course, it looks good like Doom 3, and it had a great sort of environment and feel to it. So Dark Mod looks really great. Now I think it's one of those games though where you need the original, like the game packs or whatever. You can't just download. I think you got to have maybe the game visual. Not positive though. So that's why I didn't include it in our list because I didn't know.
I think you probably just have to. You have to have Doom 3, and then it's a mod for
a few people mentioned it in the colony. Now this guy wanted to make sure we got before.
Hello.
Actually, this is Vin from
Hey, Vin.
linuxgamecast.com. You guys are doing
Wait for it.
a game show. Linux game show, whatever. Do it. I'm proud of that. I do want to say about Linux Gamecast.
Proud of that, too.
Taking the time to help showcase Linux games captured properly.
Yeah.
Nice.
He does a good
With
job.
screen capture software, so they're all jerky and everything. And if you get this before Sunday, take a look at Hex and Edge of Chaos at linuxgamecast.com. You'll see again, I've done it better than the people.
I really like his website's WordPress theme.
But, they make mods for Doom 3. I know
It
the
looks
ins
exactly
and outs
like
of
ours.
MP4 codecs.
Oh,
Big
I love
difference.
it.
Cheers.
So
Thanks, man.
He's a fun guy. I liked his voicemail a lot, so I thought we'd throw it in. And I went and checked out his website. It was really easy to navigate because it's
because it's our website.
Yeah, and though quite literally, he really does have some of the best looking screen captures. They're the nice, smooth, full representation of what the game's capabilities are. So LinuxGamecast.com. And I like to give a listener a shout out if he's got a nice site.
Yeah.
And he does it with himself down in the corner. And really he focuses a lot like our approach on Lotso. He really focuses on the content of the game and really wants to make sure it looks good and crisp. So that's cool.
Awesome.
So I thought we'd feature his voicemail. Let me check and see if we have any more. I think that might have been all that was in the inbox.
Nope, there's one more. I bet.
One more. There is. How did you know?
I just guessed.
Oh,
it's pretty good though, right?
Yeah, you nailed it, dude. All right, I'll play that.
Hello.
Wait. I guess that was him.
Well, I liked that
I did like that one so much. I think that was it.
I'm
Let
glad
me
we
check
played that part twice.
Oh, we've got so many voicemails in here, Brian. Boy, are we jerks.
Just start
or
playing
what?
random voicemails.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, click one.
Do you want me to just click one
What's
randomly?
going to happen? Yeah.
I don't know. Let's find out.
What's the worst that can go on?
Well, you never know. One was actually kind of mean, so you never know.
Lay it on me.
Oh, this is not this one. I just randomly picked one like you
Hey guys,
suggested.
this is Nolan Hester. I just saw an article on omgubuntu.co.uk. You might have to go back and click older to see it. The title of it is, dude, you are a 35-year-old with a neck beard. This guy is pretty much I think he's the head of the Ubuntu manual team.
Okay.
And he's pretty much, it feels like he's condoning the use of the terminal, and he's condoning just everything. He's condoning open source, all kinds of stuff. And I kind of see his point, but the entire article feels like flame bait, and it just feels like he's just egging people on. And I just want to know your opinion on people that are in this kind of position of influence. They're just putting this crap out here. And it feels like he's doing bad things for the community, and it just makes me want to completely switch to Fedora or some other sort of operating system, just like Fedora, BSD, OpenSUSE, something else besides Ubuntu, just because this just feels horrible. It feels bad. It feels wrong, and I want to know your opinion about this article. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, I got two things to say. First, the word condone actually means to support.
Yes.
Yeah, so I
Kinda
think
threw
you
me
were,
off for a second.
I think you were using that the wrong way.
Did the chat room link you up that link? Because that was fast.
Of course, the chat room linked me up that link.
Oh, man, I love our chat room.
So they sent that over to me, and long. I'm not.
Yeah,
gonna
it's
read
long.
It.
Basically, it's kind of pokes fun, but Seth, I wouldn't really get too worked up about it. Here's the thing: is you kind of touch on a couple of different things in your voicemail. One that I thought it's two things really. One is bloggers that just put out link bait content to put content out.
There's a lot of that,
but that's a complete. We can have quite the conversation around that some other time. But the other thing that he mentioned was it sounded like he was bothered by the fact that this guy thought using the command line was a good thing and an okay thing. And I want to talk a second about the toxic command line, because I think that's something that we sort of touched on in our Arch review, that as a Linux community, we've sort of drifted to this mentality that if it can't be done in the GUI, it's evil. And I want to talk about that for a second, because I think that's totally wrong. And I just want to.
I love the command line.
I think that really really when it comes down to it, once you learn the command line, it really is a more powerful tool set. And
it's more flexible.
I don't think the GUI has to be the end-all answer. I think the GUI just has to provide enough assistance for those that aren't comfortable with the command line.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to tar and feather anyone for suggesting that the command line is a bad thing.
It's interesting that you mentioned that.
Oh?
I wouldn't mind tarring and feathering someone for that.
Oh, really?
And mostly because I've never tarred and feathered anyone.
I know, right?
And I've never
feel
had
like your day has come for that.
I kind of do.
I understand.
I'm in my 30s now. I've never tarred and feathered someone. That's like getting out of college and never having gone to a kegger. You have to do it once.
It's like if this was the 17 or 1800s, you and I probably would have lived through several dozen tar and featherings. And you got to figure that is a pretty relevant cultural importance.
And we've lost that. As a people, we don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Well, I think we were going to talk about the Linux
I
Action
like
Show.
shells. I like logging into shells.
So that's our voicemail. I'm going to go ahead and take off the headphones now because they're kind of ridiculous. But if you want to call in and leave us a voicemail, you can do that. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com and find the contact link. There's even like a little Google Voice widget on there that'll automatically call you, Keep it private. It doesn't cost you anything.
Exactly. That's
cool.
kind of fancy, right?
Hey, Brian,
that's kind of fancy.
Is there anything else we should touch on? Should we mention a few things?
Let's see. We got Facebook, facebook.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. We got twitter.com/Brian Lunduke and /Chris LAS.
That's our Twitters. JupiterBroadcasting.com/live is where you can watch us live with.
Yeah, we got that. There's an IRC chat room in there.
Got some numbers
If you go into Jupiter Colony, there's you can find information on our Minecraft server. So if you want to be playing Minecraft, which you can do that under Linux because it's Java. And that runs under Linux.
It does. Although I found that it seems to work the best under Sun's Java engine runtime, not like some of the other like Ice-T and stuff like that. I've had issues.
You have?
Chris has had issues.
See, I don't really play the game, so I don't really know.
It's a fun game. If you haven't, it's $10 for the paid version.
That's not bad though.
But then you can join. I think it's mc.jupitercolony.com if you want to get on our public server.
That's way cool.
There you have it.
Tons and tons of fun. Way cool.
Yeah. So we want to get your voicemails. We'll start playing those more and more. We're sorry we haven't done that for a while. So go over, get the contact info.
Do it there. There's the thing. There's the place.
We want to hear about your games. Any thoughts on the show?
So what do we got coming up? What do we got coming up?
I want to do a segment on remote Linux administration. I'm not talking SSH GUI administration, like remote support or remote desktop type stuff. That kind of thing. Because everybody knows about SSH, those kinds of stuff. But what if you want to get the full GUI?
You get like a remote X11 session.
Or maybe you got like a family member you just got on Linux and you want to give them some support.
I got you.
Right? So I thought maybe we'd do a segment on that.
That'd be really cool, actually.
I mentioned it last episode, and I got a few emails that people said they were down with it. Well,
I do like it when people are down with it.
I agree, sir.
It's tons of fun. Also, if you watched the Fedora review last week and you're like, you know what, that sounds like a lot of fun to yell at people about. Head on over to the Jupiter Colony in the Linux subforum there. There's like 2 threads going.
Pretty robust discussion, Brian.
Well, they're like 4 or 5 pages long now. One of them's like, this is why I'm not going to listen to Linux Action Show anymore. Yeah. The other one's just the normal topic one about the Fedora review. Basically, it's a good back and forth going on.
It's been an active discussion. It's been pretty cool.
It's actually been kind of nice. It's been mostly civil.
Oh, definitely.
There's been a little bit of piss and vinegar thrown around.
If I gotta take my scarf off and take care of business, I will.
But I'm just saying, if you feel like you need to put your piss and vinegar into it, that's the place.
You okay? You good? Don't get choked up. Brian's a little verklempt right now. Brian needs a minute with his Dr. Pepper. All right, Brian. I think we'll wrap it up. We've talked quite a bit.
That's all I want to talk for today.
This was a long one.
Nothing else.
This was a long one.
Nothing else.
It's 12:20 p.m. We've been out here since about 9:30 a.m.
Good
I think
Lord.
that's one heck of a Linux action
That's a
show.
Linux action show. And again, if you're not watching these live,
you should.
You're not getting the hours and hours of us sitting around making idle comments. I've probably said things that are very embarrassing. I'm not sure what they are because I am drunk right now. I'm not drunk right now. But I've been sitting here for so long that I kind of just stopped paying attention to the fact there's a camera and a microphone in front of me. So you miss out on so many things. So Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific time, JupiterBroadcasting.com/live. Go there, do that sort of thing. We do try and announce them on Facebook and Twitter, but sometimes we forget until about 2 seconds before we start. Yeah. So you got to remember, it's on you guys. It's all on you.
We do what we can do. And let us know too, we're trying different formats with these game reviews. We want to do a couple a year. And one of the challenges in Linux Action Show is we walk a really fine line because we have more audio listeners than video listeners, but the video is growing. So we want to try to do something that accommodates both audiences. So so let us know how the formula worked for a gaming episode.
Yeah.
Maybe what you'd like to see next time we do one, things like that. Yeah?
That sounds phenomenal.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. And we'll see you next Sunday.
Goodbye.